Straight all day.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. What is that? That is a go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put this all together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is why you need to talk to yourself intentionally. Why you need to be intentional about your self-conversation. Now, before we get into this, let me tell you, as I do every day, that I have a daily motivation text that I give out for free. I send this for free to everyone who's in my text community every single morning. If you want to receive a message that's guaranteed to keep you focused, sharp, and on point straight from me, a message that you can actually even reply to and have a conversation with me, you can text me at my number, which is 305-384-6894. And every day when I send out that daily motivation, since you're on my list, you'll be receiving that message. And as I said, you can even respond to one of those messages and start a dialogue directly with me, because that is not an outsourced thing. Also, let's get into this topic. Why you need to talk to yourself intentionally. Now, I wrote my book, The Mental Workbook, about how you can and you will do the programming of your subconscious mind, which is the internal conversation that is ongoing and is a running conversation that's happening in your mind outside of your conscious thoughts. Conscious thoughts are the ones that you can decide what to think about. Subconscious is stuff that you don't decide what to think about, but you can control it through repetition and through certain strategies. And that's what the whole book, The Mental Workbook, is about. And today I want to talk about why you need to get intentional about that conversation. So without any further intro, let's get right into our points. Point number one, topic again, is why you need to talk to yourself intentionally. The conversation that you have with yourself is the most important conversation you will ever have. There is no human on the planet outside of you with whom you will ever have a conversation that is more pivotal to your success or to your failure than the conversation that you have with you. And there are three specific reasons for this. This is all within point number one. Three specific reasons. Number one is that you are talking to yourself more often than you talk to anyone else, or more often than anyone else is talking to you. You are with yourself more than you're with anybody else. Even if you're around somebody all day long, all the time, whether it's your significant other, one of your kids, or something like that, you still have moments. So if you're away from them for 10 seconds, during that 10 seconds, your subconscious is talking to you. And there's a running conversation happening in your mind, even when another person is talking to you. You might not be aware of it, but it's always happening. So you have that conversation with yourself more than anybody else. So it's very important that this dominant conversation be under your control. All right, so you have the longevity and repetition factor in your favor when it comes to your self-talk, over everybody else. The second reason why the conversation with yourself is the most important, we're still in point number one here, is that what you say to you are words that are spoken through the bones and not through the air. In my book, Work on Your Game, I talked about this. You can get this book at workonyourgamebook.com. The words that you say, that you hear when you hear yourself talking, that sound is conducted through bone. And the sound that is conducted through bone sounds different than sound waves that are conducted through the air. So for example, as I'm talking right now, I can hear my voice as I'm speaking, but I'm hearing it internally. I'm hearing my voice travel through my bones, through my skeleton, and then it's getting up to my brain. But if I go and listen to this episode through let's say when this episode comes out and I go on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube and listen to myself talk, my voice sounds different than how it sounds when I'm talking right now. Why? Because the sound that I listen to on YouTube or on Spotify is traveling through airwaves, whereas it's being conducted through the airwaves, whereas the sound that I hear when I'm actually speaking while I'm talking is traveling through bone. So they conduct air, and bone conduct sound in completely different ways. I mean, it's not so much different that I don't recognize it as me, but it is different. So this whole concept of listening through the bones is really about listening to your internal voice. And in the episodes where I talked about reconnecting with your instincts, like episode 1448, how to reconnect with your instincts and gut feelings. Episode 1003, how to prepare yourself to play off of instinct. And also I talked about killer instinct in episode 943. It's all about listening through the bones. It's not about listening to what everybody else says. There's another person talking to you, their voice travels through airwaves, not through the bones. The only sound that travels through bones is the sound of you actually speaking. Everything else travels through air. Even if you put an AirPod and you stick it in your ear, there's some air in between that AirPod and what you actually hear. So everything else is traveling through air. And those words sound different through the bones. They sound different to your subconscious mind than any other words you will ever hear. And the third reason why this self-conversation matters so much, still on point number one, is the fact that you're going to talk to yourself anyway. All right, you're talking to yourself whether you are in control of the conversation or not. The conversation is happening. So you might as well be intentional about it and take control over the conversation rather than having it go wherever it's going to go. This is all in this first point. So now the question is, what do you say? All right, now that you know that this matters, I think I've sold you on the concept that it matters. What do you actually say when you're talking to yourself? I'm glad that you asked. Let's move on to point number two. Today's topic, once again, is why you need to talk to yourself intentionally. Number two, as I discussed in the mental workbook, you need to write out your script the same way that an actor or an actress has a script before they go on set to perform in a movie or a television show. No actor just shows up to the set and just they roll the cameras and they just start coming up with stuff randomly, unless it happens to be improv acting. But everybody else, even improv, there's a scene that is set. All right, this is the scene that's set. Just go, y'all work off this scene that we just gave, this idea that we gave. But they don't just show up and just randomly do stuff and hope that it works out. A TV actor or a movie actor, there's a script. There's a whole plan of exactly how things are going to go. So who is who? What's in the script? We know who each person is. We know what their state is, like how they're feeling, what their energy is supposed to be. We know their mindset, what actions they're supposed to take, what their desired outcome is, why they are even in the space that they're in. And we also know how things are going to go. We know what the end of the story is supposed to be, because the script is not, they don't just leave the script open and let's just see how everybody decides to end it. There's a plan to everything. All of this is written out in the script for any actor or actress. So you are the main actor or actress in the movie of your own life. So your job, knowing this, is to write out everything that you wish to achieve in life, every action that you know you need to take in order to achieve those outcomes, and what type of person you need to be in order to take those actions. Then say those things to yourself out loud every day. This is called auto-suggestion, suggestions you make to yourself. This is your internal, intentional self-conversation. So have this conversation often enough, every single day, and you will start to do these things without even thinking about what it is that you'll start to do the things that you have written down and you're saying to yourself without having to consciously think about them, because you program your subconscious mind to start working towards them. And these things that you are saying to yourself, that you're going to start living them out. You're going to start noticing them happening in your life, and you don't even have to be conscious about it as long as you believe them. Now, if you don't believe them, then your own energy is going to counteract everything that you said. But make sure everything that you write down are things that you actually believe, and follow the plan by reading your script on a consistent basis. You're going to program your subconscious mind to understand this is the script and is not changing, and your subconscious will eventually accept it and say, okay, well, I'll go to work on this. And your subconscious is a very, very powerful tool, because it's working even when you're sleeping. It doesn't take a vacation. So that's what you say when you're talking to yourself. Since we know that this is an intentional conversation, that's having that conversation consistently enough with yourself, that auto-suggestion. These are suggestions you make to yourself, and it's going to start to become flesh. It's going to start to become your life. Moving on to point number three. Today's topic, once again, is why you need to talk to yourself intentionally. Now, with all of these things I'm telling you about self-talk, all right, and let's not ignore the fact that the outside world is going to say things to you as well. So even though you're having a conversation with yourself, the outside world is not going to just be quiet while you're having this self-conversation. The outside world is going to offer its own 2 cents and its own opinions and its own views, as well as whatever it is that you share. And what if the outside world, the things you're hearing from the outside world, are things that you don't necessarily want to hear? What if the outside world is telling you some negative stuff that is counteracting the positive things that you told yourself in the script that you written? What if you had negative people around you, or you had negative people telling you the exact opposite of what you're telling yourself? What if you have situations in life that leave more negative energy or are simply in conflict with where you want to be, what you want to do, and the images that you want to have and the success that you want to have in life? What if you're just in environments where there's a lot of negativity and there's not a lot that is supporting the positive energy that you've been, feeding yourself with when it comes to the auto suggestion? Because listen, we all understand, no matter what you're saying to yourself internally, eventually we all have to go outside. And when I say outside, I mean we got to get out of our own heads and we got to deal with other human beings. And there are some lazy people out there. There are some negative people out there. There are some people out there who they want you to succeed, just not too much more than they do. So because that would start to trigger their own insecurities. So here's the fact that no matter what you say to yourself, you're going to get into the outside world and there are going to be some things said to you that are going to fight against the things you've said to yourself. And that's why your mental conditioning matters so much. That's why the cardio that you do for your mind matters so much, so that when the negativity comes from the outside world, it does not have an effect on you. That it is your job to not allow it to affect you, because you've conditioned yourself with your own auto suggestions, not everybody else's suggestions. So what if you have situations that are offering you negativity and you want to be positive, or people just being negative, period? What do you do about these? This is the reason why you condition yourself with the self-conversation. In short, your self-conversation needs to be stronger than the outside world's conversation. Simple as that. Whatever the outside world is saying to you, what you say to you needs to be stronger. It needs to be more clearly defined, and you need to be telling yourself that more than you're telling yourself what the outside world is saying about you. And the reason for this is because you can't control the outside world. You can't control what the outside world is going to say or to show you, but you can control your inside world, even though you can't always control the outside world, which is what you say and show yourself. That's your inside world. What are you saying to yourself, and what are you showing yourself, and how are you showing yourself? This is the only answer to the question. You don't want to try to control the outside world, because you can't. You can have some influence, but you keep trying to control the outside world, you're probably eventually just going to run yourself into the ground. What you need to do instead is control your own inner world by controlling your mindset, controlling your thoughts, controlling your state, controlling the energy, controlling the way you show up, and making sure that you actually have a script written out. So if you ever find yourself, because life happens, you ever find yourself thrown off script, you can get right back on script by simply saying, all right, what page was I on? I was on page 15. You get right back to page 15 and pick up where you left off. But if you don't have a script, then it's going to be hard to pick up where you left off, because you don't even know where you were. So you can't get to where you're going if you don't know where you are. That's why documenting what you're doing, documenting where you're at, documenting how you're feeling, all that is laid out in the mental workbook, by the way, that you can get by going to workonmygame.com/workbook. You don't want to try to control the outside world. That's what you've been trying to do. Stop it. What you need to do instead is focus on controlling your own inner world. That's the world that matters most. All that said, let's recap today's class, which is why you need to talk to yourself intentionally, and what do you do? Number one, the conversation you have with yourself is the most important conversation you'll ever have, because you're talking to yourself more than anyone else is talking to you. So longevity and repetition, because what you say to you are words that travel through the bones, not through the air, and the words that come through the bones sound completely different to your subconscious than all other words. And number three is that you're going to talk to yourself tomorrow anyway, so you might as well be intentional about it now and take control over the conversation. This is all part of this first point. So what do you say now that you understand the value of talking to yourself? Point number two. Write out your script. The same way an actor or actress has a script before they go out to set to perform in a movie or a play or a TV show, you need to have a script. What are the things you want to achieve? What are the things you need to do? What are all the changes that you need to undergo? What kind of person are you going to be in these situations? Who is who? What's this person's state, mindset? What actions they follow? What's the desired outcome? How's the end of the story happen? You know all this stuff when you write out a script. Any of you who's ever written a screenplay, or any of you who's ever acted, or any of you who knows anything about it, you know that a script has the whole plot laid out, right? From the beginning to the end. You need to do the same thing about your life. You need to write out an entire script of exactly how your life is going to play out even before it happens, just like an actor or actress does. And then you're going to go live out what you just wrote about yourself, and you're going to read this out loud to yourself on a day-to-day basis. Yes, day to day, every single day, you'll read this out loud to yourself. So remember that all of this stuff I'm talking about, this usually happens for an actor or an actress. Now, you are the main actor or actress in a movie of your life. I'm not talking a biopic or a documentary. I'm talking about the life that you're living right now. You are the main actor. So write out everything that you wish to achieve, every action you need to take, and the type of person you need to become in order to take those actions. Then Say those things out loud to yourself on a day-to-day basis. Point number 3, all the things that I'm telling you, let's not ignore the fact that the outside world is going to challenge you as well. The outside world is going to say things about you. It's going to say things that are true. It's going to say things that are not true. It's going to try to slow you down. Other people in their lizard brains will tell you that you're doing too much. What if you had negative people around you telling you the exact opposite of what you've been telling yourself? And what choices are you making that are simply in conflict with where you want to be, what you want to do, and the images you want to have in life? What do you do about these circumstances that you don't control? There's a reason why you condition yourself mentally with your own self-conversation. It needs to be stronger than the outside world's conversation. Simply because you can't control the outside world, what they're going to say or what they're going to show you, but you can't control the inside world, which is the things that you say to and show yourself. This is the answer, not an answer, but the answer to that question of what do you say? You don't want to try to control the outside world. You just need to control your own inner world. You control your inner world, you will have influence and power over the outside world. All that said, text me to get my daily motivation for free every day. My number is 305-384-6894. And get my coaching programs, work with me one-on-one. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's workonyourgameuniversity.com. You can get access to all of my courses, get my monthly bulletproof bulletin, and join my programs. Work on your game. Dre all day.